Christianity is on the decline in Europe, and something else is starting to take its place. Muslims will soon outnumber practicing Christians in Europe. That's what the Justice Minister of Belgium told a committee of the European Parliament. He explained it is not because there are too many Muslims, rather, there are generally fewer practicing Christians. And the country's deputy prime minister added, quote, "The worst thing we can do is to make an enemy of Islam."
The FBI says this man admitted to intentionally spraying a liquid mixture of mice poison, hand cleaner, and water on produce sections of at least 3 stores in the Ann Arbor area. He told investigators he sprayed food with the substance at a Whole Foods, Meijer, and Plum Market within the last 2 weeks. But according to the FBI investigation, at least 14 total Michigan stores could have been affected.
What if he's been doing it for weeks or months or years and we're just suddenly someone saw him? And I mean, it makes you think about everything you buy all the time.
A Whole Foods employee in Ann Arbor noticed this individual spraying liquid on produce and reported it to police, sparking the investigation. In a statement to the Ann Arbor News, a Whole Foods spokesperson said, out of an abundance of caution, all salad and hot food bars were immediately closed down at the store. All food was thrown out, and the store team thoroughly cleaned and sanitized all food stations, equipment, and serving utensils before restocking with fresh items. State health officials say they do not anticipate adverse health effects for people who may have ingested potentially contaminated food. But the Michigan Department of Agriculture and Rural Development is warning customers to take action, encouraging consumers to dispose of any foods purchased from salad bars, olive bars, and ready-to-eat hot and cold food areas from these stores between mid-March and the end of April.
Target's liberal bathroom position is getting backlash from consumers. 2 weeks ago, the store stated that customers and employees can use the restroom or fitting room that corresponds with their gender identity. Customer surveys from 2 separate research firms show Target's reputation has since fallen dramatically.
You have man parts, you go to a man bathroom, and if you have lady parts, you go to a lady bathroom.
More than 1 million people have signed a boycott petition from the American Family Association. The group says Target's policy is, quote, exactly how sexual predators get access to their victims.
We are learning more about a sting operation that thwarted a plot to attack a Jewish synagogue in Aventura, Florida. James Medina allegedly approached the synagogue Friday with what he thought was a bomb, but members of the South Florida Joint Terrorism Task Force swooped in to arrest him. He appeared in court on Monday and was charged with attempting to use a weapon of mass destruction.
We're following some new developments on a deadly shooting near Houston, Texas. An employee of a trucking company who was fired earlier today returned and then went on a shooting rampage, killing at least 1 person before taking his own life. This is in the town of Katy, just west of Houston.
We know at least 1 other person was injured. 2 nearby schools were on lockdown after the incident. No word on the names of the victims or the shooter.
Hillary Clinton may be forced to testify under oath about her use of a private email server during her time as Secretary of State. A federal judge on Wednesday granted limited discovery to a watchdog group in one of its lawsuits against the State Department. The judge also said the deposition of Clinton may be necessary.
British Prime Minister David Cameron will propose a bill this month aimed at cracking down on Islamic extremism in Britain. Cameron plans to announce the bill in the Queen's speech later this month. The measure would ban Islamic extremism groups from operating in Britain and would launch an investigation into Sharia courts. The bill would also extend vetting rules for employers to ensure radical Muslims are not employed or work with children and other vulnerable groups. Cameron says fighting extremism head-on is, quote, the struggle of our generation.
When protesters stormed the Bay Area hotel where Donald Trump was speaking Friday, they burned an American flag and an effigy of the candidate. The night before in Costa Mesa, California, protesters swarmed the parking lot of a Trump rally. They waved Mexican flags in protest to his immigration policy and became violent, blocking traffic, smashing police cars, even bloodying one Trump supporter. This morning, the candidate said in a tweet the protesters in California were thugs and criminals.
I think things are going to get worse.
Luis Serrano is an organizer with the California Immigration Youth Justice Alliance. Members of the group were at the Costa Mesa protest, but Serrano says they did not take part in the violence.
I don't condone those actions, but I do think that we have to look deeper into the root causes of things.
When people burn flags, jump on police cars, what does that do to the cause?
We need to ask questions on why that's happening. There's a lot of racism going on, and this is the reaction we're getting from that.
You have a lot of frustration and anger. The question is, can that frustration and anger be expressed in a way that's constructive?
USC law professor Jody Armour says when protesters turn violent, it can become a distraction from their message.
We have to kind of strike a balance between recognizing that a riot may be the language of the unheard, as MLK said, on the one hand, but it may also be self-destructive and self-defeating.
But Serrano says as long as Trump continues to instigate, the unrest will continue to grow.
I think people are going to get more frustrated, people are going to keep coming out, and people are going to keep showing up and reacting in ways that are unpredictable.
And that may be the only certainty leading up to the California primary in June.
As the flood of illegals surges over the southern border, President Obama is going for broke, literally. CNS News reports that since the budget deal was signed in November of 2015, in just 6 months, Obama has added another $1 trillion to our national debt, bringing it to a monstrous $19 trillion. While more taxpayer money is thrown at the Immigrations and Customs Enforcement deportation budget, deportations themselves have decreased by nearly 43%. Breitbart reports, according to a recent chart from the Senate Subcommittee on Immigration and National Interest, ICE removed nearly 43% fewer total aliens from the United States in the fiscal year of 2015 than it did in the fiscal year of 2012, and nearly 62% fewer aliens from the interior of the United States. Ironically, as the number of deportations the Obama administration carried out tumbled, its budget for removals and detention continued to grow. From $2,750,843,000 in fiscal year 2012 to $3,431,444,000 in fiscal year 2015. But the most alarming statistic from Breitbart's report is that ICE removed 235,390 criminal aliens from the United States in fiscal year 2012, as compared with 139,368 in fiscal year 2015, meaning that it deported nearly 41% fewer criminal aliens last year, with 25% more resources than it had in fiscal year 2012. As illegal immigrant crimes in the U.S. go largely unreported, even mentioning the unwarranted murders of American citizens by illegal immigrants is deemed racist by New World Order brainwashed dupes. And if you think the perpetual raping going on by ungrateful Islamic hordes is only occurring in Europe, think again.
New documents say the man accused of kidnapping and sexually assaulting a gas station worker uttered Allah Akbar during the assault.
4 illegal aliens from Guatemala are charged in the rape of a Massachusetts woman and the vicious beating of her boyfriend. And one of the suspects was arrested less than a month before the attack. The quartet has been saddled with a slew of charges. It's been 2 years since Fusion reported that a staggering 80% of Central American girls and women crossing Mexico en route to the United States are raped along the way. Meanwhile, Panama announced they are transferring 3,000 U.S.-bound Cuban migrants to Mexico as Cuban migration spikes. And in 2016, immigrant families crossing the border is 40% higher than the previous record in 2014. When the history books are written, the flood of a great unknown and unchecked exodus of chaos in the face of all reason, civility, and legality, revolving around the enforcement of immigration laws that have dictated the policy for immigration for centuries, will go down as one of the most reckless acts instigated by a U.S. president in modern history.
But every time you try to get away from the government, they'll kill you. Or put you in prison. Or let you become an American. If you catch my drift. Because you're the new Indian. You're the new American Indian. Congratulations. Welcome to the club.